And when I look at Coco, I had a chance, obviously, to go to Roland Garros. I was at the French Open. She worked so hard every single match to get to the finals. And I just love the fact that she has not only the will to win, the fight to win. What I loved also is how she just takes the high road, no matter what. We all have heard the comments from Sabalenka, her negativity, talking about Coco wasn't better than her, that Coco didn't beat her, that she lost the match because of her errors. But I just want to say, when you mess with the bull, you get the...
Leslie just stepped into the tennis spotlight and instantly stirred up a storm no one expected. One sharp and direct statement from the basketball icon has the entire sports world talking nonstop. It all started when Aryna Sabalenka tried to brush off Coco Gauff's victory with what many are calling one of the most dismissive remarks of the year. Sabalenka insisted that Gauff didn't truly defeat her. Instead, she argued the loss came down to her unforced errors. Usually, comments like this fade away without much reaction. But this time it reached someone with championship credibility who felt it crossed the line and chose to speak up.
I think today I didn't really handle myself quite well, mentally, I would say. So basically that's it. I was just making unforced errors. Like, I don't know, I have to check the statistics. I think she won the match not because she played incredible, just because I made all of those mistakes from, like, if you look from the outside, kind of like from an easy balls.
Lisa Leslie followed every second of Coco Gauff's journey at the French Open, stepped in and made it clear why Aryna Sabalenka's remarks were more than disrespectful, pointing out they reflect a growing pattern that can't be ignored anymore. But the issue didn't stop at one match, one comment, or one frustrated reaction, because it speaks to something that has been building over time. And what made Sabalenka's words hit harder was how familiar they sounded, as Gauff has been facing the same kind of attitude several top players again and again, making it harder to overlook. Since instead of giving her proper credit when she outperforms them, they fall back on excuses like having an off day, making unforced errors, or struggling with rhythm, as if her performance had no impact. And even when she rose to number 3 in the world rankings, players like IGA Swiatek and Aryna Sabalenka continued to label themselves as the so-called top group, while leaving her out of the conversation entirely, which didn't seem accidental, rather a clear message about who they believe deserves attention and who does not. And this pattern keeps repeating every time Gauff defeats an opponent who never expected her to win.
And what I love about Coco is that she can't say anything, but these women have come after her, whether it's been Sabalenka, Iga, Rybakina. They've made comments, even when Coco was actually number 3 in the world, they talked about them being the big 3. So every turn she has to face not just her opponent, but the ridicule from her colleagues.
The pattern is clear and hard to ignore. Because when Coco Gauff, her opponents suddenly have endless excuses. But when they win, everything is treated as normal and unquestioned. And seeing this cycle repeat again and again is exactly what pushed Lisa Leslie to finally speak out, as she had grown tired of the constant undermining, the quiet digs, and the way achievements were being publicly downplayed. And she refused to let another comment filled with disrespect without response, especially knowing the level of determination it took for Gauff to reach that stage. But then the moment grew even bigger when a voice entered the discussion that carried more authority than analysts or former players. And what followed sent shockwaves through the tennis world. Because Leslie was not just another familiar face courtside at French Open. She had been closely watching Gauff battle each match with relentless focus and strength under pressure. And as a four-time Olympic gold medalist, a three-time WNBA MVP, and one of the most respected figures in women's sports, Leslie understands exactly what it takes to compete at the highest level, including the pressure, expectations, criticism, and how quickly a single remark can change the story around an athlete. So when she heard Aryna Sabalenka downplay Gauff, as if it meant nothing, she chose not to stay silent. And instead instead stepped straight into the spotlight to respond.
You're playing against an American who's our top American. Have some respect, one, and lose with class. And I just feel like it's not right for them to try and depict her as someone who she's only barely winning because we're not playing our best. Guess what? We all lace up and you got to play your best. If it's a championship and we all get there, on championship day, you still got to play your best. It doesn't matter about what the stats said last week and how you got there. Show up that day and play your best. And because Sabalenka didn't play her best, she decided to take the low road and try and criticize what Coco has accomplished. But I just want Coco to know, as we all have shared and shown our love, that we in America, we support you. We're happy and we thank you the way that you carry yourself with such class and grace. And for all the other players, be careful what you say, because we're coming back after you. You don't get a chance to take down our hero. She's our hero, and we're so happy in celebrating Coco.
From her point of view, Coco Gauff didn't just perform well. She earned every victory through discipline, focus, and pure determination. And Lisa Leslie watched her push each round with a level of composure and maturity far beyond her years, which made Aryna Sabalenka's remarks even more unreasonable. But Lisa understood this was about more than a single loss or a post-match comment, as she recognized a larger pattern where top players continued to withhold the respect Gauff had, clearly earned. And when no one within the tennis world stepped up to challenge it, Lisa decided she would take that responsibility herself, knowing her voice carried influence and attention. And the moment she spoke directly about Sabalenka's comment, the narrative shifted from simple tennis controversy to a deeper conversation about sportsmanship, ego, and underlying jealousy. And her message resonated strongly because it came from someone who had experienced it all firsthand. A true champion who worked for every achievement and understood exactly what it means to earn success at the highest level. And what she said next is what truly stunned everyone in the room. Because Lisa Leslie didn't just question the attitude. She directly challenged Aryna Sabalenka's excuses without holding anything back, making it clear she had no intention of softening her words. As she went straight to the core of the argument with a message that was impossible to ignore, explaining that when you step into competition at the highest level, you have to be ready for the consequences. And in this situation, that facing a hard Sabalenka wasn't prepared for. And Lisa openly said what many were already thinking but chose not to voice. That dismissing Coco Gauff's performance wasn't just unnecessary. It crossed into being disrespectful. As she emphasized that Sabalenka didn't simply lose because of her own mistakes, but because Gauff created those mistakes through pressure and smart play, which is exactly what elite athletes are trained to do by controlling tempo, disrupting rhythm, and exposing weaknesses. And Lisa made it clear that trying to downplay an opponent's success often reveals more about your own mindset than anything else, suggesting that in this case the frustration was obvious. But she pushed further by explaining that this wasn't just a one-time comment said in the heat of the moment. Instead, it reflected a broader pattern where several top players have repeatedly minimized Gauff's victories, acting as though her success only happens when others underperform rather than acknowledging her skill. And after witnessing this happen again and again, Lisa made it clear she would no longer allow those narratives to go unchallenged. What she highlighted next cut even deeper. As Lisa Leslie described disrespect hidden behind self-criticism. And then delivered one of the most powerful lines of her entire message, explaining that Coco Gauff continues to take the high road no matter the situation, which already places her far ahead of those who try to bring her down. And Lisa made it clear she wasn't only defending a player, but exposing a larger issue inside the locker room. One driven by ego, pride, and a refusal to accept defeat with respect. But the real frustration went beyond Aryna Sabalenka's comments, as Lisa pointed to a double standard that had been ignored for too long. Because when Gauff loses, no one steps in to protect her or offer excuses. Instead, they credit the opponent, praise their performance and break down the strategy. But when Gauff wins, the narrative suddenly shifts towards mistakes and disrupted rhythm, avoiding any recognition of her skill or execution. And Lisa made it clear she saw straight through that pattern, calling out the uncomfortable truth that great athletes don't win because others perform poorly. They win because they create pressure and force mistakes. And she emphasized that Gauff's speed, smart shot selection, and mental strength during long rallies are exactly what push opponents into those errors, which is the true mark of a champion. That is simply how tennis works. Yet instead of accepting it, Aryna Sabalenka tried to reshape the narrative in a way that protected her own ego. And the irony in all of it is hard to ignore, because players often act as if Coco Gauff had nothing to do with the mistakes being made, as though she wasn't the one across the net applying constant pressure on every single point. And Lisa made it clear that this kind of thinking reveals insecurity rather than true competitiveness, explaining that if a player can celebrate victories but struggles to accept defeat, then they are not being honest about their own performance. But what stands out even more is how selective this so-called off-day narrative becomes. Because when top players defeat Gauff, no one questions the result or suggests it only happened because she was not at her best. And no one downplays those wins or treats them as unearned. Yet when Gauff comes out on top, the excuses appear almost automatically. And Lisa did more than just point this out. She broke it down in a way that forced people to reconsider what is really happening, showing that this was not just a single careless comment from Sabalenka, but part of a repeated pattern that Gauff continues to face. The real issue was the ongoing refusal to give Coco Gauff the respect she has clearly earned. And Lisa Leslie followed that point with an even stronger message by making it this situation goes beyond tennis, as she framed it as standing up for an American champion on the global stage, explaining that Gauff is not only competing for herself, but representing a country that values the way she carries herself with composure under pressure, respect in victory, and grace in despite her young age. And because of that, when players like Aryna Sabalenka attempt to downplay her achievements or take subtle shots, it creates a different kind of reaction. And Lisa immediately tapped into that perspective by reminding everyone that Gauff holds a leading position in American tennis, which brings a level of backing that others may overlook. And her message remained direct and powerful, as she emphasized that respect is not something demanded, but something Gauff has earned years of hard work, rising through the ranks, securing a major title, and consistently maintaining professionalism. So when anyone tries to diminish that, it is not just criticism of a player, but a dismissal of what she represents. And she went even further by warning that words carry consequences, making it clear that people would not ignore repeated attempts to tear down a young athlete who has proven herself and coming from a Hall of Fame level champion. That statement carried weight as a reminder that how players speak publicly shapes perception, and targeting a hardworking competitor ultimately reflects poorly on the one making the comments. While Lisa's defense stood out because it was not only in support, but in her understanding that the criticism directed at Gauff was not truly about performance, the core of it all. Lisa Leslie made it clear that these reactions were never really about performance, but about protecting personal egos. And she grew frustrated watching Coco Gauff continue to take the high road, while others acted as if her success did not truly count. Yet what stood out even more than Lisa's strong words was how Gauff handled the situation without saying anything at all. Because while Aryna Sabalenka and others searched for excuses, Gauff remained calm, respectful, and completely above the noise, which only made the situation more revealing for her opponents, as she never responds with pettiness or tries to prove herself through words, instead allowing her performances to speak for her. And that quiet confidence ends up exposing those who struggle to accept without changing the narrative. And Lisa highlighted this perfectly by noting how Gauff consistently chooses composure even when her ranking is questioned, her ability is doubted, or her victories are minimized as she refuses to be pulled into unnecessary drama and keeps her focus on improvement,